The Quarians were an ancient species. Their silver ships had crossed the stars for thousands of years. In 2150, their scout vessels detected signals from a blue planet called Earth. Scout Commander Drell watched the humans through observation screens. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, showing his curiosity and slight disgust. "Such primitive creatures," Drell said to his crew. "They've barely left their own planet." The scouts recorded everything. Humans building cities. Humans fighting wars. Humans creating art. The Quarians noticed how quickly humans advanced their technology. This was unusual compared to other species. Back on the Quarian homeworld, the High Council gathered to discuss the discovery. The council chamber was carved from living crystal, with 12 senior leaders seated around a floating display showing Earth. "We should establish contact," said Commander Vrek, his metallic skin gleaming under the lights. "These humans could be useful to us, or they might become a problem later." Elder Zith Nell raised a gnarled hand. The oldest of the council members, his once shiny skin had faded to a dull gray. "I advise caution," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The room fell silent. When an elder spoke, others listened. "I have studied our historical archives," Zith Nell continued. 3 advanced civilizations have encountered humans before us. None of those civilizations exist today. Commander Vrek made a dismissive gesture. "Superstitious nonsense. Those species disappeared for other reasons." "Did they?" Zith Nell projected images above the table. Ancient recordings showed battles between strange ships. The Trilaxians were more advanced than we are now. They challenged humans. Within 2 of their years, the Trilaxians were defeated. "Ancient history," Vrek said. "We are the Quarians. We have dominated this sector for millennia." "The humans adapt quickly," Zith Nell warned. "They learn from their mistakes. They become stronger when tested. The archives are clear. Never challenge humanity." The council debated for hours. Finally, they voted to establish peaceful contact with Earth, while secretly studying human capabilities. 6 months later, the first official meeting took place on a neutral space station. Human diplomat Alan Garrett represented Earth. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm eyes. "On behalf of the United Earth government, we welcome peaceful exchange with the Quarian people," Garrett said, bowing slightly. The Quarian representative, Sub-Commander Keeler, performed the traditional greeting of her people, pressing her 4-fingered hands together. The Quarian High Council extends friendship to humanity. The meeting went well. Basic trade agreements were discussed. Cultural information was exchanged. Humans showed remarkable interest in Quarian history and technology. Meanwhile, in his private chambers, Commander Vrek reviewed the reports with growing concern. The humans had asked very specific questions about Quarian ship capabilities. They had offered seemingly primitive technology in trade, but analysis showed clever design principles that the Quarians had overlooked. "They're more advanced than they appear," Vrek told his advisors. "We need to learn their weaknesses before they discover ours." The elder warned against provoking them. One advisor said nervously. Vrek waved the concern away. "Zith Nell fears shadows. I want to know what these humans are truly capable of. We'll test them. Small challenges at first. Border disputes. Resource competitions. Nothing that would start a war, but enough to measure their responses." On Earth, Alan Garrett reported to the United Earth Defense Council. The meeting room was simple, with wooden furniture and paper notebooks alongside advanced computers. "The Quarians are hiding something," Garrett said. "They're studying us carefully. I believe they're assessing our threat level." Admiral Kate Porter nodded. "Then we should give them nothing to fear, while preparing for everything." "The diplomatic approach is working for now," Garrett agreed. "But history suggests the Quarians may not be satisfied with peaceful coexistence. They've absorbed or dominated every species they've encountered, except for those who disappeared," Porter said quietly. "Yes," Garrett replied. "Those who challenged humanity and no longer exist to tell about it." Tension rising. 5 years passed since first contact. Humans and Quarians maintained outward peace, but trust remained fragile. Both sides smiled during diplomatic meetings while preparing for possible conflict. Officer Samantha Wells stood at her observation post on Jupiter Research Station. The massive gas giant filled the viewport behind her. Half the station belonged to humans, half to Quarians. A clear dividing line ran through the middle. Wells checked the security logs. Again, Quarian researchers had accessed restricted areas during night shift. This marked the third time this month. Something wrong? Asked her colleague, Ryan Baker. The Quarians were in Section 7 again last night, Wells said, keeping her voice low. That's where we keep the defense system blueprints. Baker frowned. Maybe they got lost. Nobody gets lost 3 times in the same restricted area, Wells replied. Later that day, Wells reported her findings to Commander Daniel Morgan in his office. Morgan was a veteran of Earth's unification wars, with a reputation for caution and clear thinking. I've noticed other irregularities, Morgan said, pulling up files on his screen. Quarian ships changing course near our sensor arrays. Their diplomats asking pointed questions about our military response capabilities. Do you think they're planning something? Wells asked. Morgan stared at the data. I think they're testing us, probing for reactions. He looked up at Wells. Document everything. I'll take this to the United Earth government. On the Quarian homeworld, Commander Freck presented his findings to the High Council. Holographic images of Earth's defenses rotated above the table. Their technology advances too quickly, Vreck said. In 5 years, they've nearly matched our propulsion systems, which took us centuries to develop. The humans have honored all treaties, countered Elder Zithnel. They seek knowledge, not conquest. Vreck displayed new images. These are human military exercises from last month. They're preparing for war while speaking of peace. All species maintain defenses, Zithnel replied. Not like this, Vreck said. Their tactics are unpredictable. They simulate fighting against enemies with superior technology. They practice losing battles to learn how to recover. The council murmured with concern. We must act, Vreck continued. If we wait 5 more years, they may surpass us. 10 years, and they could dominate this sector. What do you propose? Asked Council Leader Morth. Controlled conflict, Vreck said. We test their true capabilities while limiting their expansion. Small attacks on outlying posts. Disruption of their supply lines. Nothing that would trigger all-out war, but enough to contain them. Elder Zithnel rose slowly. The archives warned us. When challenged, humans don't retreat. They escalate. They unite against external threats. Ancient myths, Vreck dismissed him. Ideal and present realities. The council voted. Vreck's proposal passed by a narrow margin. Back on Earth, the United Earth government met in emergency session. Commander Morgan presented evidence of Quarian surveillance activities. President Lily Chen studied the reports. Recommendations. Increase readiness without obvious military buildup, Admiral Porter suggested. Develop countermeasures against Quarian technology. Most importantly, continue diplomatic efforts while preparing for the worst. The Quarians underestimate us, Morgan added. They think our technology is still primitive compared to theirs. That misconception could be our advantage. Very well, President Chen decided. We'll maintain the appearance of naive cooperation while accelerating our defense preparations. That night, Officer Wells detected unusual activity near the asteroid belt. 3 Quarian ships approached a mining outpost, weapons charge. Commander, she called Morgan on secure channel. I think it's starting. Morgan watched the data stream in. Alert Defense Command. Tell them it's not a drill. Across the solar system, human forces quietly moved to predetermined positions. Years of careful planning activated without panic or confusion. In his private chambers, Elder Zithnel opened the ancient archive once more. He read the final warning inscription. They adapt. They overcome. and they never forget those who attacked them first. The first strike. The asteroid belt mining station shook as Quarian weapons fire tore through its outer defenses. Emergency lights flashed while alarms blared. Workers rushed to evacuation shuttles. Officer Samantha Wells had been visiting the station when the attack began. She helped direct civilians to safety while recording everything with her neural implant. "This way," she shouted over the noise, guiding a group of miners down a smoke-filled corridor. A young technician stumbled, and Wells pulled him to his feet. The station's commander approached Wells. "Last shuttle leaves in 3 minutes. You need to be on it." "I should stay and help," Wells argued. "No, someone needs to deliver intelligence on their attack patterns," he said, pressing a data crystal into her hand. "This contains sensor readings of their weapons signatures." Wells nodded grimly and boarded the final shuttle. Through the viewport, she watched as 2 more Quarian warships arrived. The station didn't stand a chance. Similar attacks hit 2 other human outposts simultaneously. The Quarians struck with precision, targeting communication arrays first, then defense systems, and finally life support. They seemed to know exactly where to hit. Back on Earth, the United Earth government convened in their underground emergency chamber. President Chen listened as reports came in from across the solar system. 3 outposts attacked. Minimal casualties, as most personnel evacuated in time, Admiral Porter reported. But the Quarians now control key positions in the asteroid belt. "Their message?" President Chen asked. "They claim our outposts violated previously unmarked Quarian territory," Morgan explained. "They're presenting this as a justified border enforcement action." President Chen's expression hardened. "Recommendations. The public response should be measured," Morgan suggested. "Express outrage, demand explanation, but don't escalate immediately. This gives us time to implement our contingency plans." Meanwhile, Captain Laura Wilson's fleet is in position near Mars, Porter added, ready to respond when ordered. President Chen nodded. "Make the diplomatic statements. Activate Defense Protocol Theta 9, but no direct military response yet." In orbit around Mars, Captain Laura Wilson received her orders. She was a tactical prodigy who had studied Quarian battle formations for years. Her fleet remained hidden behind Mars' smaller moon, Deimos. "They expect us to either surrender or charge straight at them," Wilson told her officers during briefing. "We'll do neither." She displayed a hologram of the solar system. The Quarians rely on overwhelming firepower and advanced shields, but their ships have 2 weaknesses. They're over-specialized, and they're predictable. Wilson pointed to Mars. "We'll use the planet's magnetic field to mask our energy signatures while we split into smaller battle groups. The Quarians expect a single human fleet. We'll hit them from 5 directions using the planetary rings for cover." On the Quarian command ship, Commander Vrek received reports of the human response with satisfaction. "They're in disarray," his tactical officer reported. "Their communications show confusion and fear." Vrek's second-in-command looked uncertain. "Is it possible they're deliberately appearing weaker than they are?" "Unlikely," Vrek said. "Their most advanced ships are still in Earth orbit. They didn't anticipate our attack." Back on the Quarian homeworld, Elder Zithnel addressed the High Council one final time. His voice trembled with age and concern. "You have ignored all warnings," he told them. "The humans are not retreating in fear. They are gathering their strength. Our historical archives show this exact pattern before." Council leader Morth shifted uncomfortably. "What do you suggest?" "Withdraw immediately. Offer reparations. They might still accept peace." "Nonsense," Vrek's supporter on the council interrupted. "Early reports show complete tactical success. The humans are technologically inferior and disorganized." Elder Zithnel closed his eyes in resignation. "Then we have already lost. You will see. When humans are threatened, they don't break apart. They unite. When challenged, they don't surrender. They innovate." In Earth's defense headquarters, Officer Wells delivered her intelligence data. They weren't just attacking, she explained. They were studying our responses, looking for patterns. Then let's show them something unexpected, Captain Wilson said, finalizing her battle plan. The human response. Commander Vrek watched the holographic display with growing confusion. The humans weren't reacting as expected. For 3 days after the asteroid belt attacks, Earth's military had appeared disorganized and defensive. Now, suddenly, everything changed. Multiple ships appearing from behind Earth's moon, his tactical officer reported, voice rising with alarm. Energy signatures unlike anything we've detected before. The display showed dozens of small, fast vessels emerging from hidden bases. These weren't the bulky human ships Quarian intelligence had documented. These were sleek, advanced crafts with unfamiliar propulsion systems. Impossible, Vrek muttered. Their technology wasn't this advanced last month. On the UEG flagship Orion, Admiral Porter addressed ship captains through a secure channel. Operation Reveal begins now. Show them what humanity has been keeping in reserve. Earth had maintained a careful illusion of technological limitation. For 5 years, they had shown the Quarians only older ship designs, while developing new technologies in secret underground facilities on the Moon and Mars. Lieutenant John Rivera led a special forces team toward the captured mining outpost on Ceres. His dropship was cloaked with new technology that bent light around its hull. 20 soldiers in advanced combat suits prepared for insertion. Remember your training, Rivera told his team. The Quarians expect conventional tactics. We don't do conventional. Instead of attacking the main entrance, Rivera's team cut through the station's waste disposal system. Instead of using standard weapons, they deployed electromagnetic pulse devices that temporarily disabled Quarian armor but left human equipment functioning. They're inside our perimeter. A Quarian commander shouted as his forces found themselves outmaneuvered by humans appearing from unexpected directions. Rivera's team secured the station in 17 minutes with 0 casualties on either side. The Quarian defenders were captured, not killed. Tell your leaders, Rivera told the Quarian commander, we could have eliminated your forces. Remember that when they plan their next move. Meanwhile, in a research facility beneath the lunar surface, engineer Olivia Peterson made final adjustments to her team's greatest breakthrough. Shield disruptor ready for deployment, she reported to Earth Command. Mass production begins today. For years, Peterson had studied the frequency patterns of Quarian defensive shields. Her team had developed a device that could create momentary gaps in those supposedly impenetrable barriers. President Chen authorized immediate deployment of the new technology. Within hours, human ships across the solar system were being retrofitted. Commander Vrek received increasingly desperate reports from his forward bases. Humans are adapting to our tactics faster than anticipated, his intelligence officer explained. They're modifying their weapons and strategies after each engagement. How? Vrek demanded. No species learns this quickly. They appear to have prepared for this conflict in advance, the officer replied hesitantly. And their military units show unusual creativity. At the Quarian outpost near Jupiter, the garrison commander watched in horror as human ships using minimal energy signatures drifted past his sensors disguised as debris. By the time he detected the threat, humans had already boarded his station. Elder Zith Nell received these reports with grim vindication. He addressed an emergency session of the High Council. The patterns match the archives exactly, he said. First, humans appear weak and disorganized. This is deliberate. They study their enemy. Then they reveal unexpected capabilities and unconventional tactics. This is merely a temporary setback, one of Vrek's supporters argued. Is it? Zith Nell displayed tactical data from across the solar system. 3 days ago, we held 7 human outposts. Now we hold only 2. Their counterattack isn't just effective, it's methodical. On the recaptured mining station, Officer Wells helped restore communications. She noticed something strange about Rivera's team. Your tactics weren't in any Earth military manual, she observed. Rivera smiled slightly. Because we wrote new manuals. When we realized conflict was coming, special forces teams were tasked with developing approaches the Quarians would never expect. How many new tactics did you create? Wells asked. Hundreds, Rivero replied. And we're creating more every day. That's something the Quarians don't understand about humans. We don't just adapt to challenges. We thrive on them. The turning point. Captain Laura Wilson stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching Jupiter's swirling clouds through the viewscreen. Her fleet had hidden within the gas giant's complex magnetic field for 3 days, waiting for the perfect moment. Quarian reinforcements approaching the Ganymede outpost, her tactical officer reported. 6 heavy cruisers, just as intelligence predicted. Wilson nodded calmly. Begin Operation Thunderclap. Across Jupiter's many moons, hidden human ships powered up simultaneously. Rather than confronting the Quarian fleet directly, Wilson had positioned her forces around multiple moons. The plan was unorthodox but brilliant. Launching disruptors now, Weapons Control announced. Thousands of small, unmanned drones shot toward the Quarian ships. The Quarians easily destroyed many, but they couldn't stop them all. The surviving drones attached to Quarian hulls and activated Engineer Peterson's shield-disrupting technology. Phase 2, Wilson ordered. Human ships emerged from hiding places in Jupiter's rings, attacking from 12 different directions at once. The Quarians, expecting a head-on assault, found their formation surrounded instead. With their shields compromised, 3 Quarian cruisers fell quickly. The others attempted to retreat, only to find their escape routes blocked by more human vessels appearing from behind Callisto. On the Quarian homeworld, Commander Vrek faced increasing criticism. You promised a swift victory, Council Leader Morth said, her voice sharp with accusation. Instead, humans now control most of our forward bases. A temporary setback, Vrek insisted. Our main fleet is still intact. The humans simply got lucky. Elder Zithnell shook his head slowly. This isn't luck. This is exactly what the archives warned about. Humans excel at asymmetric warfare. They identify weaknesses and exploit them ruthlessly. Reports arrived from Jupiter. The Quarian reinforcement fleet had been completely captured. Impossible, Vrek exclaimed. There's more, his aide said nervously. We've detected unusual activity among other species. The Valerians have withdrawn their support. The Trelk Consortium is opening direct negotiations with Earth. They're abandoning us, another council member whispered. While Wilson's victory unfolded at Jupiter, Lieutenant Rivera and his team executed an equally important mission. They infiltrated a Quarian communication hub hidden in Saturn's rings. Download everything, Rivera instructed his tech specialist. Their battle plans, ship locations, alliance agreements, everything. The intelligence they captured proved invaluable. Earth discovered that several supposedly neutral alien species had secretly supported the Quarian attacks. Commander Morgan immediately launched a diplomatic offensive. We know about your arrangement with the Quarians, Morgan told the Valerian ambassador during a private meeting. We're prepared to forget this betrayal, but only if you reconsider your position. One by one, the Quarians' secret allies distanced themselves from the conflict. On Earth, Engineer Peterson walked through a massive production facility. What had once been an automobile factory now produced shield disruptors by the thousands. Workers operated machines around the clock, converting civilian technology for military use. We've improved the design, Peterson explained to Admiral Porter during inspection. The new version can penetrate Quarian shields at twice the distance. How did you solve the power consumption problem? Porter asked. We didn't try to overpower their shields, Peterson replied. Instead, we found a way to create resonance in their shield frequency. It's like finding the exact musical note that shatters a glass. This symbolized humanity's approach to the entire conflict, finding elegant solutions rather than brute force responses. In orbit around Mars, the captured Quarian cruisers underwent rapid study. Human engineers disassembled the alien technology, learning its secrets and already improving upon its design. They'd had centuries to perfect these systems, one engineer told Officer Wells during her inspection tour. But they stopped innovating. They thought they'd reached the peak of possible development. And humans? Wells asked. The engineer smiled. We're just getting started. On the Quarian command ship, Vrek received the final piece of devastating news. His secret weapon platform near Mercury had been captured intact. The humans hadn't destroyed it. They'd boarded it, studied it, and now controlled it. For the first time, real fear showed in his eyes. How are they always one step ahead? Elder Zith Nell's warning echoed in his mind. They adapt, they overcome, and they never forget. Elder Zith Nell walked slowly through the ancient archives beneath the Quarian capital. These halls contained records spanning thousands of years, yet few ever visited them. The council had finally requested his presence after weeks of devastating defeats. The full council waited in the deepest chamber. Their expressions showed a mixture of fear and disbelief. Show us these warnings you spoke of, Council Leader Morth said quietly. Zith Nell placed his hand on a crystalline pedestal. The room darkened, and three-dimensional images appeared in the air. They showed battles from long ago. Strange ships fought against familiar designs. These are records from the Trilaxian conflict, Zith Nell explained. They encountered humans 300 years ago. The Trilaxians were more advanced than we are now. The images showed Trilaxian ships easily winning initial battles. Then the tide turned as human vessels employed unusual tactics and unexpected technologies. The pattern is always the same, Zith Nell continued, showing more historical accounts. Humans begin at a disadvantage. They study their enemy. They adapt quickly. They develop countermeasures. Finally, they win decisively. Why didn't you show us this before? A council member asked. I tried. Zith Nell replied simply. You wouldn't listen. Meanwhile, Captain Laura Wilson met with Earth's military leadership. Her recent victories had made her a key strategic planner. The Quarians are regrouping near Neptune, Wilson explained, pointing to tactical displays. They still outnumber us, but their morale is low. What do you recommend? President Chen asked. We offer peace terms, Wilson said, surprising some in the room. Terms that protect our interests but allow the Quarians to save face. We don't need to destroy them to win. Admiral Porter nodded in agreement. Winning the peace is as important as winning the war. The proposed terms were fair but firm. Quarians would withdraw from human territory, pay moderate reparations for damaged outposts, and sign non-aggression treaties. In exchange, humans would share certain technologies and establish trade relationships. Officer Wells delivered these terms personally to a Quarian diplomatic vessel at a neutral location. The Quarian diplomats seemed relieved by the reasonable proposals, but Commander Vrek had other plans. They offer peace because they fear our main fleet, Vrek told his loyal officers. We will launch our ultimate attack against Earth itself. When their homeworld is threatened, they will surrender. On the Quarian homeworld, Elder Zith Nell sensed disaster approaching. He accessed ancient communication codes and did something unprecedented. He sent a direct warning to humans. Commander Vrek plans a desperate attack on Earth, his message stated. The Council hasn't authorized this. Many Quarians desire peace. Earth's defense forces went on high alert. Lieutenant Rivera and Engineer Peterson were called to an emergency planning session. We have 24 hours before Vrek's fleet reaches Earth, Admiral Porter informed them. We need your combined expertise. Rivera studied the tactical display. Conventional defenses won't be enough against their numbers. We don't need conventional defenses, Peterson replied. She pulled up schematics for a new system. I've been developing this based on captured Quarian technology. It creates a gravity distortion field. How does that help us? Rivera asked. It won't destroy their ships, Peterson explained. But it will disable their engines without harming the crews. We can capture their entire fleet intact. When Vrek's fleet appeared near Earth's moon, They expected orbital defenses and perhaps a desperate last stand. Instead, they found minimal opposition. "They've given up," Vrek told his bridge crew triumphantly. "Begin bombardment preparations." Suddenly, strange readings appeared on their sensors. A wave of energy expanded from Earth's surface. When it reached the Quarian ships, their engines simply stopped. Artificial gravity failed. Weapons systems went offline. From hidden positions around Earth's orbit, human vessels appeared. They surrounded the helpless Quarian fleet. "This is Captain Laura Wilson of Earth Defense Force. Your ships are disabled. Your attack has failed. We offer you honorable surrender." On the Quarian homeworld, the Council watched these events through long-range sensors. Elder Zithnel's prophecy had come true in every detail. The humans could destroy Vrek's entire fleet. Council leader Morth observed. "Yet they offer mercy instead. That is their greatest strength," Zithnel replied. "Not their technology or tactics, but their capacity to show restraint in victory." The Council voted unanimously to accept Earth's peace terms and recall Commander Vrek to face justice. Commander Vrek stood before the Quarian High Council. His once shining armor was dull, his posture defeated. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from every Quarian province, along with several human diplomats. "You acted against this Council's direct orders," Council Leader Morth stated. "Your unauthorized attack on Earth resulted in the loss of 17 ships and endangered our entire species." Vrek kept his eyes on the floor. "I believed I was acting in our best interests." Elder Zithnel spoke gently. "Pride and fear guided your actions, not wisdom. The humans could have destroyed your fleet entirely. Instead, they disabled your ships and spared your crews." From the gallery, Commander Daniel Morgan watched the proceedings with interest. As Earth's chief diplomatic officer, he had helped draft the peace agreement between their species. "Does the human representative wish to speak?" Council Leader Morth asked. Morgan stepped forward. "Earth does not seek punishment. We request only that Commander Vrek be removed from military service. The peace between our peoples is more important than retribution." This mercy surprised many Quarians. Their own tradition demanded harsh penalties for military failure. Yet the humans, despite their victory, showed restraint. Vrek was sentenced to work in the archives under Elder Zithnel's guidance, studying the historical records he had once dismissed. 3 months later, Officer Samantha Wells walked through a newly constructed facility orbiting Mars. Half the instructors were human, half Quarian. This joint military training center symbolized the new relationship between their species. "Our first class arrives tomorrow," said Krell, a young Quarian officer assigned as Wells' partner. Many applied, but we selected only the most open-minded from both sides. Wells nodded. "They'll learn each other's tactics, technologies, and cultures. What we once used against each other, we'll now use together." On Earth, Engineer Olivia Peterson led a mixed team of human and Quarian scientists. They worked to combine their species' different approaches to technology. "Your shield designs follow mathematical principles we never considered," a Quarian engineer admitted. "It's elegant. And your propulsion systems achieve efficiencies we thought impossible," Peterson replied. "Together, we'll go further than either species could alone." The research facility had become a symbol of cooperation rather than competition. Lieutenant John Rivera, now promoted to captain, prepared for his new assignment. He would command the first joint human-Quarian expedition to a distant star system. "Your unorthodox tactics impressed even our veteran commanders," his Quarian second-in-command told him during planning. "Now other species request training from humans." Rivera smiled. "We had to be creative because we were less advanced. Necessity drove our innovation." Throughout the galaxy, news of humanity's victory spread. Other advanced civilizations, some who had watched Earth with similar contempt, reconsidered their approach. Several reached out with offers of alliance rather than risking confrontation. Captain Laura Wilson, the architect of the decisive Jupiter victory, found herself teaching at the Galactic Military Academy. Her lectures on adaptive tactics became the most attended courses among alien military officers. The lesson isn't that humans are superior, Wilson explained to her diverse students. It's that underestimating any species is dangerous. Adaptation and innovation often happen fastest when facing overwhelming challenges. On the Quarian homeworld, Elder Zith Nell and Commander Morgan finalized a comprehensive peace treaty. More than just preventing conflict, it established cultural exchanges, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. Your warnings were correct, Morgan acknowledged as they completed their work. If your people had heeded them sooner, much suffering could have been avoided. Zith Nell nodded slowly. The true wisdom lies not in being right, but in learning from mistakes. Both our species will be stronger for this experience. The final provision of the treaty established an interstellar council where humans, Quarians, and other species would have equal voice regardless of technological advancement. This new approach to galactic politics recognized that different species offered different strengths. In the Quarian archives, former Commander Vrek cataloged records from the conflict. Working alongside historians, he helped document what became known as the Lesson of Earth. Never judge a species by their apparent technology, the conclusion stated. Judge them by their adaptability, their creativity, and their determination when challenged. I noticed that the story outline I provided earlier was designed to be told in 7 parts, and we've already completed all 7 parts. However, I'm happy to write an epilogue or part 8 to continue the story. Epilogue. 10 years later, 10 years had passed since the Quarian conflict ended. Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined before the war. Gleaming towers of mixed human and alien design rose in major cities. Ships from a dozen different species regularly visited Earth's spaceports. Officer Samantha Wells, now Admiral Wells, walked through the Interstellar Council headquarters in Geneva. The massive building featured architecture from all 17 member species. Wells had helped build this alliance from the beginning. The Martian delegation has arrived, her assistant informed her. Wells nodded, and the Quarian representatives, already in the conference room with Elder Zith Nell. Though well over 100 years old now, Zith Nell remained active in diplomatic affairs. His wisdom had guided the peaceful integration of humans into the wider galactic community. Captain John Rivera, commanding the exploration vessel Horizon, transmitted his weekly report from a distant star system. His crew included members from 8 different species, including 4 Quarians. We've discovered a pre-spaceflight civilization, Rivera reported. Implementing first contact protocols based on Elder Zith Nell's recommendations. The lessons learned during the human-Quarian conflict had created a new approach to encountering developing species. Rather than conquest or exploitation, the Interstellar Council emphasized respectful observation and limited contact. In the research center beneath Luna's surface, engineer Olivia Peterson demonstrated her latest breakthrough to an audience of scientists from across the galaxy. By combining Quarian energy principles with human quantum theory, we've created a propulsion system 10 times more efficient than previous designs, Peterson explained. A young Quarian scientist raised her hand. This technology could have military applications. Aren't you concerned about sharing it? That kind of thinking belongs to the past, Peterson replied. We advance faster through cooperation than through secrecy. On the Quarian homeworld, former Commander Vrek had become a respected teacher. His classes on interspecies relations were required for all military cadets. I once believed dominance was strength, Vrek told his students. I was wrong. True strength comes from alliance and mutual growth. The students listened carefully. Among them sat his own daughter, who hoped to serve on a mixed-species vessel. Laura Wilson, now Earth's representative to the Interstellar Defense Council, met with military leaders from 23 species. They coordinated protection against a newly discovered threat, a swarm of automated machines approaching from beyond known space. Based on our analysis, these machines adapt quickly to conventional attacks, the Trulk commander explained. Wilson smiled slightly. Then we'll need to be equally adaptive. Perhaps it's time to show our new enemy why challenging this alliance is unwise. Around a table designed to accommodate bodies of vastly different shapes and sizes, the military leaders began planning. They combined strengths from each species: Quarian shield technology, Trulk sensor arrays, Volarian stealth systems, and human tactical innovation. Meanwhile, in schools across Earth, children learned history alongside young Quarians and other alien species in exchange programs. They studied the conflict not as a tale of human victory, but as a lesson in misunderstanding and eventual cooperation. The biggest danger in the universe isn't difference, a teacher explained to her diverse classroom. It's fear of difference. As the day ended, Admiral Wells joined Elder Zithnell on an observation deck overlooking Earth. Ships of various designs moved through orbital lanes, a visual reminder of how much had changed. Did you foresee this outcome when you warned your people about challenging humans? Wells asked. Zithnell's ancient eyes crinkled with amusement. The archives showed only conflict and victory. They never predicted friendship. Perhaps that's the next chapter we're writing together, Wells suggested. Indeed, the elder agreed. The archives warned never to challenge humanity, but they failed to mention the benefits of befriending them instead. As night fell over Earth, lights from cities highlighted the continents. From space, it was impossible to tell which buildings were human-designed and which had been influenced by alien architecture. The planet itself had become a symbol of what was possible when different species chose cooperation over conflict.